the meeting to order. Any items from the public, since there is none? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Hess, anything on any changes?
We have nobody, scheduled for an appeal, but the only question I have is on the quad graphics thing that Kathy Sherman changed and sent values here. I don't know who was familiar with it, but he did send an email, and they agreed on, after the Board of Assessment Appeals last year, they agreed on a value for quad graphics. But then after that, they changed the county modifier or the state modifier, which increased the value, and nobody notified quad graphics. So they recommend, the state's recommending that we leave that value that they agreed on for 2020.
How much difference?
$11,000.
I don't see it. We can't see the 2021 stuff yet, so I have no clue what the difference is. 11,000.
She said it was 11,000.
It was.
Yes.
So
$11,000 total for revenue?
No. Difference in
just in the appraised
in
value.
the appraised value.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not whole. Not on the 49
That's
million.
like a penny.
Not on the
For
40.
us.
Yeah, and the state made the promise. I think they make the deal, unless we have reason to believe they did it erroneously. I think.
Yeah.
I'll just stick with it.
We haven't put anything in the book yet, so we just
If
need
I
to get
recall, at the time that they were asking for an adjustment with the state of West Virginia, probably 2 years ago, I tried to attempt to reach the state and, showing them how empty their warehouse is, but yet they turned back around and had a rented warehouse that was plumb full.
Yeah, I remember that. So I guess we need to get an approval on that.
Would
before
you
we
all,
put it in the
you
book.
gonna bring it over?
Well, I've got the values here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I didn't bring a copy of the PRC, the appraisal, but I got the values here that Kathy sent in to Penny and me and you, I think, whatever. So I can give you the values if you want to approve those or not or whatever.
No, I'm
But
not ready to approve it today, but I don't have anything at all.
all right, what do you need me to bring over? Just the copy of the appraised value, the
Yeah.
PRC.
The appraised value and assessment.
Yeah.
What it was and what it is.
Okay.
Exactly what it was.
Well, we
what
can
it is.
go get that now.
Yeah, what your assessor's book shows and what Kathy's change shows.
Okay. Yeah, we can get you something, bring it back over. And other than that, we have nobody else right now.
No changes to the books.
No. Okay.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is Diane Waldron, Program Manager for County Meals on Wheels. Good afternoon.
Hi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. What
Um,
to do?
On behalf of everybody at Meals on Wheels, I want to thank the council for your support in the past years, and hopefully you can help us this year again. Just so you know that we are still got the same mission we've always had. We're delivering hot, delicious, nutritious, home-delivered meals at a low cost. Just so you know how much we're growing, in 2018, we served 30,240 meals, and in 2019, 46,239 meals with the same staff and same volunteers. So,
When did you start with Katie Court?
okay, so we started with Katie Court in February of 2019. So all the apartments, there's 83 apartments in Katy. Our kitchen's located down in the basement, and we serve to 70 of those people in that building. So that's why our numbers went up so much.
Meals a day?
They get one meal a day, Monday through Friday. And most, well, not most, I'm going to say 20% of them come down and get their meal and walk back up to their apartment because they just want to eat alone. About 15 or 20 of them, it changes from day to day, come down and sit in a congregate fashion and eat together, which we really promote. And then we deliver to the ones that can't physically, they're on a walker or whatever, and they can't physically come down and get their meal. So our numbers really went up in 2019. Plus, we're getting the word out more through our Facebook and social media. So more and more people are calling us, which we want, because they're finding about the resource that we have in this county. So
I hate to say it this way, and I hope I don't offend you or anybody else, but one thing that we do here through our community service program is to make sure we're giving a hand up, it's not a hand out. So
okay.
are the people, how can you assure me, and I'm not so sure you can,
Okay.
assure me that people aren't taking advantage of the system that's put in place to help people?
I hear what you're saying, and I can tell you through our volunteer drivers who are very, we've had them for years, like some of our drivers have been on for 20 years, 22 years. Our drivers see firsthand the conditions of the people that are receiving the meal, and I'm not going to say nobody is taking advantage of us, but I can tell you very succinctly that I'd say 90% of the people for sure are not taking advantage of us.
Because ideally, rather than being a success story on serving more meals, ideally, I think the success story would be we're serving less people because they're on their own.
Well, the thing though is we're growing as a county.
I understand that.
So we're getting more and more people calling us
That's for
that,
senior citizens, for our population of seniors.
well, what we're finding is we get people from Virginia, DC, Maryland, moving here. Well, the parents are here, but the kids that are my age, 65, are living in other counties. So even though a lot of people are leaving West Virginia, their seniors are not leaving Berkeley County.
They have
So-
to be homebound to get the,
Yes, and homebound is kind of a fluid thing where it's a case-by-case basis. Like if you were just in the hospital for a month and you're going home and you're weak, but you just need a little bit of help, it's a transitional thing. So you may not be homebound the whole time, but then you stop Meals on Wheels. So I kind of disagree with you a little bit on the success story. I see the success story as letting people that live in Berkeley County who have this need for this resource, that don't have transportation, that don't have a access to a grocery store, or have the wherewithal to prepare a meal themselves, that we're reaching out to these people, and that's why the numbers are growing. I don't mean to be obnoxious about it, but that's how I feel, because I see it firsthand.
what was lunch to?
Today was, wait a minute,
This is
it was
test.
ham. I was in the office working on a grant for United Way. It was sweet potatoes and another vegetable, and the dessert was some sort of cake and a little side salad and milk or juice. Phew.
Fried ham or baked ham?
It was baked,
Oh.
a baked ham, like a ham
It was a
steak.
dead pig, Jim.
You know, she didn't bring any of it to us.
I didn't. It's like a ham steak, so. So, and the other thing is, the reason we come to you is we have this Dine with Dignity program because 25% of our folks can't afford the $4 fee that we charge. And last year, in 2017, we subsidized just for that group of people a little over $17,000. So, the other caveat is the folks that we serve. The drivers are really the people that find them in unsafe situations or safe situations. So the drivers are really a lifeline to these folks.
Do they insist on somebody answering the door, or?
Well, I'm going to say most people come to the door, but there are some bedridden folks and some folks on walkers that can't physically get to the door. So we have different situations. They have a cooler out that we place the meal in because they can't get to the door in time. Or on the driver card for each individual route, we have 7 routes. There's specific directions for each person. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Because I think they'd want to make sure the person in the client is
Yes.
okay.
Yes, and if the driver gets there and they don't see the person or hear the person or, they don't get the meal to the person, they call me back at the office. And then we call the family because we have the emergency information from the onset of the referral. So that to me is as important as that meal.
Yeah.
Also, this year and last year, we hired a West Virginia board-certified registered dietitian to review our menu, so that we're sure we're covering all the bases on the nutritional value of that one meal. Any questions? I'm open to questions.
I don't have any questions right now. Anybody else? Other than thank you for the good work that you did.
Thank you. We appreciate your all support. We really do. I think that's, am I the only one in here?
No, Gary's here.
Okay. Is that it then?
That's it.
Well, thank you all very much.
All right,
Have a
thanks.
good day.
Well, there's a lot of people in the city that have difficulty coming to the door. I've
I've
been, last weekend, I was going around door to door on,
Couldn't even finish
Uh,
the magistrate.
well, sometimes it took them, like, you could hear them in there, and
It's in today's
like one guy, I see, he was messing with the knob for, had to be a minute and a half. I'm like, what are they doing in there? And I was really getting ready to put a, sorry I missed you thing on it, and it was, then finally it opened.
Okay, I didn't have the hair.
He's,
I didn't see Harold Bailey.
he opened it, and he's like, yeah, what?
I think he's a great magistrate.
Been one for the last 40 years.
Someone.
He was like, he was a banker, lives on, an old banker, lived, worked with,
Used for get
what's the
out.
name,
No,
United.
King Street.
You look familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
You forget us again?
Fleming.
Hey, Rob, I just appreciate being this, not low.
Yeah,
They say he's in bad
Sorry,
shape.
Gary's
One
in bad
time he
shape.
had
He's
long hair and everything.
he was all bent over and
Uh,
opened the door. He talked to me for
yeah,
a couple
about an
minutes.
hour ahead of
He's a
time.
good guy.
Yeah, I couldn't,
And where
He
did he
stayed
wake you
any
up?
longer, he sold your mortgage.
I couldn't
APFE.
have brought myself to, I couldn't bring myself to
Poured it
ask
out.
him for a signature because he was having all he could do
Wow,
just to bounce.
Just to balance.
Nice
Holding
day
on to
for
the
it.
door
Yeah,
and the
it was
wall.
just done one
Gary,
big month.
Gary was a good guy when he was there.
Barrier control.
He is
And
just,
then,
he is,
digging out for
Such
HP
bad
parking
His
spaces.
granddaughter works
Nothing
for us.
but mud. Water cameras up.
is that right?
I just hauled a load back to my house.
Oh, boy.
All right, we need to hear from our own
Yeah.
Gary Wine,
I filed
IT
yesterday.
information / deputy county administrator /
57, I had 50.
The do-all guy.
/
Dudley Do-All, right there, Jeff Dudley Do-All.
Did you say flash or
Slash.
Whatever you need,
slash? Slash.
Slash and cut.
right?
You're looking a little tired there, Gary.
No, day's just begun, sir.
Huh?
Just to quickly summarize, I apologize for the read ahead being late.
Which read ahead are we going by? Oh, this one?
Yes, sorry.
Where are we at? Which read ahead are you talking about?
So the read ahead that you had, I submitted my budget, I guess, just to discuss. I asked for 21,347 more than last year. That's driven by cell phone increases. I think we're just gonna start building them downstairs. A lot of it is grant reimbursed, DRC. You just got 3 new employees that will be housed with regard to the community. So a lot of that money comes back. Unfortunately, we pay it up front and it's not the fastest back. So that's where that went. I moved a lot of money around, just trying to get it where it needs to be as opposed to doing budget revisions on the fly. So
I'm just going back to 2011-12 was $520,000. What the hell's going on?
a little different, right? So the way I did that, I think I did central garage first, so we'll talk about it first, if that's okay.
Are you gonna have anything to put in the central garage?
So as you'll see, we did 553 service tickets, and that's across the board.
Wait a second, I gotta find all these. Okay.
It's all printed though.
On this one.
Yeah. So you can see, obviously, you would expect the brunt of them to be with law enforcement, since that's where most of our fleet lives. 423 of the service calls, and then down through, we did a good bit for community corrections, as you can see, 28 of them. And they have 3 vehicles. They're busy. They move them around a lot. It's a heavy year for accidents, as you well know.
Oh, there it is.
Heavy year. It's
just read a couple more,
$1,000.
didn't they?
It's $1,000 every time that happens out of this budget. So I think we're up to close to 20. That's $20,000. I mean, we have a $1,000 deductible, and not to mention the incidents that you aren't seeing that we don't turn in. We just had one yesterday. An employee backed into one of our vehicles. Wasn't bad. It's okay. I mean, it just cracked the tail light, just chipped the tail light on one of the IT vehicles. Not bad. But we've paid on many occasions for claims that weren't $1,000 or above. So we track those, and we're probably $30,000 deep in that alone. On the expense side, as I always try and do, break it down so you can see where the money went. We do the best we can to spread the work out. The Transit Authority does all of our brakes, rotors, tire changes, oil changes, and things like that. There's sometimes when we have folks in the academy that doesn't hold true. We may have to have an oil change on the weekend, and we'll use Jiffy Lube or something. But for the most part, they do that work. And then the others from parts, try to use all the different parts stores. We're buying premium products, not the low end stuff. So all in all, the budget itself, even with all of that said, is trending down about 12%. So Matt's doing a really good job. What's not accounted here, what we did do historically is, of these 553 service tickets, understand your employees don't do anything short of drop their vehicle off and go do their business in another vehicle. So time saved is 2,080 hours. Now, Matt obviously has time off. We cover that for him. So that man runs from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock. It's a full-fledged, it's a, it's not like he's swinging a sledgehammer, but he's very busy just orchestrating what happens. In many instances. He was about where out yesterday. Yeah. And my assistant helps him when let's say he takes something to the Transit Authority and it's a 4-hour job. If he won't sit there, my assistant will go get him, bring him back, and he'll work on something else. So all total, we probably have 3,000 hours wrapped up in that effort a year. Even though
3,000 productive hours somewhere else.
Absolutely,
That means somebody might be on the street.
It's big, right?
Don't work, right?
Right, and I believe the program is working really well. I've not fielded any complaints. I'd hope that you folks haven't either, but all in all, I think we made a good decision, and we've now been more than a full budget cycle through it. And again, we're at 48.92% as of January 31st. We should have been about 60, so it's doing really, really well.
The other thing you're talking about saving time, for one police officer, it's 2,180 hours. If you're saving 3, then that's an extra position that you have time on task.
It's absolutely.
Gary, and with the parts, when we go to a ride for repairs, many times we provide parts.
95% of the time, we provide all parts. So we're buying parts discounted.
Brakes and the tires, so we're saving money that way because we're not.
And Matt's in the middle of that. So if we drop a car off at the shop, and let's just say we had an engine replacement this year. When we replaced that engine, every part that was bought was validated by us, ordered on our account, and delivered to the shop. We're not running parts; the shops are delivering them. So we're getting government rate, right, at a bulk, delivered, and then we bill and put that cost towards the vehicle itself. So when you look at the service cost, if you look and you see a vendor, let's just say a garage pass, that's all professional service labor for that garage. Now, there are some instances where we might They might have needed to top off antifreeze. Okay, we hit get it with the shop supplies there. But for the most part, all of those, you're looking at professional services today. We track that accordingly. So 217, which are the materials, what we use to fix stuff, is tracked, and that line item alone is at 29.96%. $80,000 left out of 114. Trend stays the same. It'll trend right to that. So if at the end of the budget year, you also bought a bunch of new vehicles. So, but professional services, we're right now probably budgeted at 45,000, and we're at 91%. So I may have to move some of that money, but it's way down from historically where we were at.
What's building equipment and rents that you went around 31,000? To 19.
19 in central garage. That I think you're in. You're in.
Wrong one. Excuse
You're
me.
in the wrong
Picked
one.
up the wrong
I was gonna say, I don't think I rent anything in there.
Okay.
We can talk about that now.
The other thing that Gary and Matt did early on is went to all the garages and obtained their labor rates for brake jobs, so that when Matt knows a vehicle needs a brake job, he kind of looks down the list and says, okay, here's where we're going to get the best price. And then they make a conscious effort to distribute the work. A lot of garages that we've never ever
Are doing more
dealt with before that now dealing.
In some of the issue, and what you run into, and makes it difficult for an environment like ours is, let's just say brakes most of the time happen in the transit authority, but let's just say it's a transmission replacement. If we come to them and say, yeah, we'll do it, and it's $200 cheaper, but we can't get to it for 6 weeks, it doesn't do us any good. So some time is a big deal too. So that's weighed in every decision, because in engineering's environment, they don't have extra vehicles. So if we can't get it back the next day, that's a problem. I think for the most part, Matt's doing a really good job. Obviously, the numbers don't lie. We're driving costs down. Again, we're admitting the fact that you've invested. We're over 30 new cars in the last 3 years, so the fleet's getting newer. So we would expect to see that. Any question I can answer for you on the fleet piece?
What can you do better than you're doing right now?
One of the things that we're trying to do, we've implemented technology in the cars that actually tells us the service interval. We're just getting to the end of that, and we've got all the service intervals in, so we don't have to rely on driver A, B, or C to say, you're at the 3,000 mile service interval, get that thing in here. By next year, it's running now. We're getting it on most of the fleet. That's one. The second thing is, we don't track the time invested in the vehicle itself. We just track it as a day. Unlike the next budget we're talking about, I can track it down to the department and the person. So trying to get more granular with how we track it, so we know, I know I have X amount of parts invested in, but I don't necessarily know how much time I have, service time, hour time invested. So just drilling down on those right now, Dan, unless there's something that you folks aren't seeing that you want to know out of these numbers, we'll gladly do it for you.
Do you track, does your system track users?
Who's in the vehicles?
Right,
It
so
does.
that you can, I mean, obviously, if you tracked every user for 5 years, at some point you're gonna say, this
They're heavy
guy
on the
here
brakes.
has got all kind of problems
Right.
all the time.
We are.
And and this guy over here doesn't never have a problem.
We are. So on the law enforcement side, there's a part of the computer that's installed in the car that talks to the ECM of the car. They have a fob that gets snapped in the dash of the car when they get in it that says, okay, Deputy A is driving this car. So there isn't any question that during that travel cycle that Deputy A was in the car. That same company has in the technical world what's called an API. They have an open pathway for our computer system to talk to it and grab that data. We are pre-populating reports with that stuff now, so soon we should be able to statistically speak on, all right, driver A was relative to this, and this. So yes, we are gathering that now.
And the reason I ask is because, the thing I brought up with the sheriff about or the chief, I guess, about distracted drivers, training for distracted drivers down the road. I mean, that may be I could see where that could be a criteria for someone to have to go for.
Right. We have in all of your vehicles, we now have the ability, we can trend usage and speed and braking and stuff that's already in there. So we have that now. If a department head or an elected official chose and said, we'd like to know of our whole fleet, what's the average speed, what's the average speed for the whole fleet? What's the average speed, anything, how many times hard braking, how many hard turning? They're tracking that. That stuff's in there now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
And we track repairs by vehicle.
Absolutely.
So that if we have a new vehicle that is mileage, but has high maintenance costs, identified with that vehicle, it's time to rotate vehicles. We might want to rotate that.
Yeah, we do that. We have done that for the better part of 2 years now. We have a good handle on the true cost of ownership for all of them. So if you said, hey, we'd like to see the whole fleet and truly what we've got invested in them to date, we could provide that. Yeah.
One of the things when we started going to replacement of our fleet was trying to, and would say, talking about the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of asked, have any way to find it out? I think there's more of a sweet spot for
Non-emergency.
anything, exactly.
Yeah, there is no sweet spot on the emergency services Eagles because we have too much money invested in outfitting them. I mean, we invest probably the better part. We invest as much cost as the car in outfitting them by the time you wrap a toy in it. So there's no sweet spot for those. You drive them until they don't run anymore. You're done with it. The rest of our fleet, yes, we can speak to that, and they're there right now. We have 2018 EcoSports with 22,000 miles on them. We could probably get the same amount of money we pay for them out of today if the council really wanted to work that. We do.
I think we need to look at that, and because it would be crazy. We can't. If we could replace certain vehicles in our fleet every 2 years and not cost us a penny,
Probably real close and could do that.
not do it.
No, I mean, it don't make sense because then you stay up on it.
And the only question to all of that is the avenue at which we sell, right? So we could trade, and we all know trade's not going to bring anything what we can sell. So what is the avenue for the government to declare it surplus and then negotiate a sale price? To the best of my knowledge, all we can do is auction. I don't believe we can
See,
negotiate.
and that hinders us big time.
That's my point.
Anybody from the
Well,
public.
no, why? I mean, why can't to auction? You don't have to.
You can
sell.
set a reserve,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Sure.
So why is that an issue?
Well,
I
what,
mean, if you set your reserve and put it on an auction site, declare it surplus, can't you keep using it while it's surplus?
I don't know. Can we use it while it's declared surplus? I don't think we can we?
Declared surplus, we have.
See, from the private side of that, tells me, and I got the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
Not unless I need the vehicle.
Well, let's take the Jeep that I drive. I'm driving a 2012 Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, with just turned 50,000 miles that I personally have driven from day one. It's immaculate. There's not a dent in it or scratch on it. We paid 20 grand for it. I promise you we'd get 15 out of it.
Right.
If I were on the market to buy, I'd buy it.
So that's the sweet spot.
Right.
If
But how, I guess the process, I'm a little fuzzy on how we do it. If we declare it surplus, we have to mark it and set it aside uninsured. So it
don't worry
says,
about that. We got 2 people on staff nowadays.
here we go.
The other thing that this council should be commended
Gotta
for
find that sweet
is
spot already.
early on in the process of developing our fleet, directed us, developed an RFP and put it out for competitive bid rather than just cherry picking it off the state contract. And it does a substantial amount of money plus it's kept tax dollars local in cases. What I've found interesting is a lot of other counties are now doing the exact same thing rather than strictly off the state contract. We've sent out RFPs many, many times to other counties that are interested in how we do it.
My question is, why is the state doing it? Because they're buying way more. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we're just one county. They're got 55 counties. If they do a state contract for 55 counties, they should get a better price than we are. If they're doing the same process, right?
They're trying to get better prices in neighboring counties.
You have to also have the,
Be nice.
in politics, it's, sometimes we take care of our friends, particularly Charleston.
Well, Lane, that doesn't happen in my world, but I
It
understand.
doesn't happen in my world either,
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
talking about
I
Charleston.
thought you were talking about yourself.
And you're right, you know, an example is the risk. That makes all the sense in the world for the county. Participate in the risk, all county,
4 or 5 counties that don't.
and the reason for all county does not is because of their ties to a local.
Right,
As well as a lot of the northern counties.
right.
Want to talk computers now? You want to stay with Clark?
Sorry.
You want to talk computers now? You want to stay with Clark?
No, I'm ready.
Computers?
What?
Okay.
Computers?
Right?
Huh?
So, on to the IT budget. On the surface, you'll see, as always, the information technology is the largest. I've kind of broached that before. Those are the things that we do that benefits the entire organization. There's no way for us to categorize them into a bucket that might belong to a particular office. So the 1,074 service tickets or the 3,600 hours or what it takes to make the machine run so everybody can have their stuff available to them. And if you look down through, we've done a lot of work, as you can see, for the sewer district.
That's a lot of work when it exceeds central dispatch.
Right? You'll see them, we'll be going back through here. And then public safety is always number one, central dispatch and law enforcement. And on through, you'll see all the outside agencies are in there, from the ambulance authority and the fire board, library, transit authority, parks and rec, water district, Martinsburg Fire Department, Senior Services, Ambulance Authority, or excuse me, Airport Authority, Solid Waste, Development Authority, City of Martinsburg. We're everywhere, as trying to help whoever we can when we can. So we did 7,798 service tickets this year. Last year it was 6,280, so 20% increase over 1 year.
Is the word getting out?
I think so. I think it's there. So 12,717 field hours to people. Now, I get a little frustrated because I take that and I know that there are 9 people involved in that number, right? So that's like 1,400 hours per tech. So I put my business hat on and I'm like, well, we work 2,080 hours. Where's the other 600 or 800? Holidays, vacations, sick leave. That's a really good number in the business world. If this were my IT company and I could get 1,400 billable hours out of a tech, I'd love to get 2,000 out of them. But when you think about it, they do a really, really, really good job. I mean, and that says to me as the manager for you that we're moving forward. I mean, we increased by 20%, and the word is out. They call, we will help.
What are the calls for?
Pardon me? What's it for?
No, what are the calls for? Yeah.
We want to install a new security system in our complex, or our printer won't print. I'd like my telephone to open the door. My office is too
Just
cold.
walk in an example, would you? Can't get my iPad started.
I call him up and say, I got all this stuff going on here and I keep saying redo, redo. He says, turn it off and turn it back on. Is that his billable hour?
If I'm not mistaken, and my mind's starting to leave me, but years ago, why do you think I wrote this way, Dan, when I said it? You know,
I was wondering where the starting came from.
think it's like 14 weeks for an established employee of time off
Yeah,
per year. So you take that times 40,
a lot.
you're not doing bad.
No, I'm proud of the team, and I think they do a good job. And the one thing, and I want to invite you all to walk downstairs. You can ask any of them. I don't have to be involved. They don't need me to function. Matter of fact, they hate when I get involved because I'm either bringing more stuff to them to do, or I'm asking them something that they already did, right? So, but it is a fine running machine. They do a great job. Every last one of them down there, and I would hope that you could ask any of them that they'd say two things. One, they agree with that, and two, that they like to work for us. They enjoy being here, and at that rate, I don't have anything to say to them but thank you. So on to, same as the garage piece, here's where the money went. From the highest expenditure clear down to some food on a trip that somebody may have bought for $3.29. Feel free to look at it if you ever have any questions. We do just as Alan said on the computer side as we do on the car side. Probably 60% of Sandra's time is making sure that our expenses are, our money's being spent as wisely as possible. We not only service the outside agencies, but we do a lot of purchasing for them. So we really try and make sure everybody has the best stuff at the best price. Nobody's got the Ferrari, if you will. Everybody's got what they need and to do the job.
How much is your outside, how much is your, is this your contracts all involved here? too?
Everything, every penny from our department.
So how much is just contracts, maintenance contracts, those type of things? How much percentage of your budget is?
I would say probably close to 20% of the budget is contracts. Stuff you have to have. You wouldn't want to get caught without them. It's a big number. If we look at so two things with that, Dan. On the 216 is where we pay maintenance period of equipment. It's $165,000. And then added to that are 20. So it'd be, you're probably talking about $200,000, give or take. And those could be from, and I call contracts like a copier lease because the maintenance is rolled into that contracts. And then software contracts, and as you would expect, there's a significant amount of expense on security, cybersecurity and things like that. We have a big investment in that, from virus to firewalls to threat protection and so on. So there's a big commitment from the council to protect us.
Hey, Gary, item 219, how come we went down 31,000?
So that's rent. We have a lease that expired. That I kind of shifted some of that money somewhere else to use it. It was a smaller lease on a piece of storage that's now we own. So I moved that money over instead of asking for more. I just moved it around. That's fine. Does anybody have any questions on any of the vendors? If you were ever to, we have it down to the penny. If you said, what did we spend at Rock Brothers for 9,000 here? We could tell you exactly. But most of these, I'm intimate, would actually know what they were. But we can look them up if you ever needed.
So it looks like our cell bill between two carriers is over $100,000.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So remember, involved in the cell bill are your handheld phones, are the cellular routers that are in the cars, are the cellular monitoring devices that talk to the ECMs of the cars. So there's a lot of things. It's not just our phones. Probably phones, probably close to 45,000 telephones is what we pay in a year. The rest of it is mobility. So
All of those contracts have 911 fee added on it.
sure they do.
Yeah.
Try and get out of it. I tried. I don't have any more wind. We pay 911 fees on our landlines too. We pay ourselves.
Thing to remember is we continue to acquire grants, particularly on community corrections and recovery services side. Most of their equipment, their IT equipment that they need is 100% reimbursable.
Right.
In fact, when your purchase order law, there's acquisition of some tablets and things like that. So it comes out of the IT budget and it shows up as an expenditure, and we try to put it back in state budget. So we are getting reimbursed from IDA, some of the care grants. And so that's, it doesn't show up as revenue, but certainly it is a reimbursement.
Last night at Planning Commission,
Mhm.
put in preliminary final plat for 4
Howard?
towers in Back Creek Valley.
Yeah.
Good. On the hill.
Good.
All right.
So the last page I gave you is a summary of the revenue that the department generated last year. We generated $238,477.31. That's money that we do service work for that came back to me. So some of that includes equipment, but not a lot. Most of that is labor. We're building at $75 an hour for almost everything. But these numbers are only going to get larger. We've got, as you well know, you've agreed to the Martinsburg PD project. That project alone for my team is massive, and it will kick off. I've involved in an email chain that they're getting real close to move. This calendar year we're in, we'll be doing a lot of work in Martinsburg.
So I mean, in reality, the sewer department should have their own IT person.
So we're involved in a project with the sewer department that is GIS relative, and you can't hire a person for that kind of money.
Yes.
Part of it, yes, but I would say 80% of that is GIS centric. You just can't reach out and hire a person and say, here, do that for that person delegate. It makes sense with this relationship that we augment them. The executive director of that board, I said, we actually have a contract. We use augmentation, a staffing service. We have a person downstairs that works here that I bill them for, right? And told them we'd train them up, teach them everything we know, help get the product going, and if they wanted them at any point in time, help yourself. We're always here to help, never here to take over. So to do the kind of work we're doing for them, it's probably a 2-person team, and our GIS team has 30 years of expertise. You're not going to pick it up for $51. But and we do a lot of other work for them. I mean, we perform.
Well, you got the ambulance story is 51.
But remember, we did a building for them. I'm sorry, I read the wrong number. The ambulance stories numbers, that's their new Suport building. That's a lot of material and service.
Right.
The 75 for the sewer district. In that, we've done a lot of security stuff for them. Substantial.
A lot of your personnel are special in their field of IT. Kind of like lawyers,
Right.
Lawyer that's going to do a super job for everything.
And it works well so that, if let's just say and we do all the ambulance authorities work too, or we'll stay with the sewer district. When they open a work order, they don't have to think, do we have that skill set or not? They just give it to us, and we get the skill set and give it to them. So it might be security, it might be GIS, it might be IT centric on the printer. You never know. So I can tell you that number would be a whole lot more on the open market if they were hiring from an engineering firm.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good relationship.
250.
So doing well, still growing. Again,
So you're saying that we could probably balance your budget, not give you anything to report on?
I don't know that your customers would still want to use us, but if you want to try it, we may be broke. So all in all, I don't have any concerns. I think we're doing a good job. I think we're moving forward, and that's the litmus for me.
Any great
pardon?
needs or desires or wants, maybe lacking somewhere?
No,
The other present company excluded, of course.
I do not believe so. I believe we're whole. I believe that we're prepared for the tasks at hand the next fiscal year,
Including security.
including security.
I
And
know it's tough.
we'll accept any challenge that comes our way. We don't say no. If they want help, we'll help.
We're getting ready to open up that new program software for
Engineering
Engineering and
and
stuff.
planning.
It's coming.
So that one unique statement that I'll make is that the revenue generated from last year paid for the planning and engineering software that you're going to do. I think you'll remember Alan and I met with you and you blessed the new process in those departments. That is tax dollar neutral. It didn't cost, it's not out of the general fund money. That's money we earned. And that process is slated to go live. Did they mention a go live date last night, Jim? For Monday night?
No, not last year.
It's probably in the next 2 months is go live.
I'm thinking
So
March, April.
the process for builders and developers, if you will,
What does it do?
well, I can tell you. So
Makes everything real time.
real time. So inspector comes out and inspects your footage and they hit approve on this. So the computer will tell the builder, the concrete subcontractor, and the owner that that's passed. And whoever
Whoever
knows
else
to
is
do
on
what.
that email chain.
So I had a framing inspection today, and as I was walking in here, I called my daughter to find out what was going on because we have insulation scheduled for tomorrow. So we have to know in order to do insulation tomorrow, whether or not the framing passed today. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if I could just look on my phone and say,
And you
yeah,
will.
it's done, send a
Yes.
message to my insulation contractor, say you're on, you know?
And it's sophisticated enough if you so chose. Let's just say Mr. Delia's construction came in. We set these milestones up, and he said, Gary Wine Insulation, the insulator. And he said, Barnhart's plumbers are the plumbers. When those triggers happen in the software and the inspector happens, not only does it tell the owner and the contractor and the subcontractor, it even told me as the plumbing subcontractor, I'm approved, I better go to work. Dan doesn't even have to call and tell me. It's all about how the project's set up front. So you can do that. If you're the grading guy and when you're done and it gets approved and the next guy in is the footer guy because the footer's Doug, you don't have to call Doug and say, hey, you need a hoe out there. Doug got the email. Said, Project 101 at 11 Rotherham Drive's ready, do it.
If you had time to read it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
He's
my
busy
issue.
fellow. I
You know,
get
I mean, you get so many of them,
Right.
it's like,
right. And so that's a project that's coming now, and as you'll recall, about 6 weeks ago, we stood here and asked if we could bid out financial software. So I'm in the process of getting that document done. That's a massive lift for Berkeley County too.
Well, if we don't have emails, we'll also text message.
Sure.
Okay.
Text, email,
Because that would even be a little bit better for me.
it sure can. You could text it.
no, I agree with you.
You and I can take
agree
the
with
best
you.
of it, we can't do much of anything else.
Yeah, so on the technology front, Mr. Barnhart, will we ever be done? No.
No,
But-
I
but
know
I'm-
that much.
But I'm
It's always
comfortable
something
right
new.
now that we're in a good place. If we were to go any faster for my team, it would be a stress. I mean, we're moving at a pretty glib pace as it
Has
is.
the health department contacted you about taking the sewage records and the food records?
They have, told them we'd be glad to help. We do the telephone system at the Morgan County Health Department. Bill called and said, man, now that I've got this department, got these old phone lines and I said, sure. We provide telephone service and telephones so they can 4-digit dial from that health department to our health department. And of course, Bill paid for everything. I mean, we did.
Service that we provide at a reduced cost.
For sure, for sure.
And I think Elaine, EPTA, when she was in here, mentioned the fact that our IT department does provide support services to the EPTA, but beyond that, internet access, all done through our system.
Sure did. So
So
every
it
fire
saves
department
them, you're not giving them a budgetary allocation.
in
It's the in-kind savings that they're seeing.
You're in-kinding probably $20,000 to $30,000 worth of telephony service by itself. You add on internet that you in-kind, you're probably in-kinding $50,000 a year to outside agencies that would otherwise had been and or would have to buy that on the open market. And all the equipment that goes with it. and somebody to maintain all that equipment. So fire departments, ambulance authority, landmarks, CDB, airport, can go on and on and on. Solid waste authority, you know,
Development.
all three locations, development authority. That's all you. That's all your in-kind services. They come with a heavy weight. And you know, we do it efficiently. We do it real efficiently. And those things for them on the open market, if Alan was with me, I forget the executive director at the Transit Authority at the time, Cheryl, someone, they were paying almost $600 a month. They pay zero. Just that fast. Went from that.
Comcast coming out of the courthouse account?
Yeah. You don't feel, our budget doesn't feel that. Doug, give you an example. For that same level of service, we bring them in on trunks, and we bring them in 20 lines for $10 a month. They're paying $35 a line. We don't feel it. Tax dollars don't. The courthouse account doesn't feel that. If we were to say no, we wouldn't do it, you might see $1,000.
Just kind of thinking Comcast is one of our council courthouse.
Sure.
Cell phone is yours.
Right. We've often discussed and talked about potentially the telephony, the courthouse account telephone, put it in IT so you can really see and feel it where it belongs, right? Because it's across the board stuff. But Alan's got great control of it. We're on the same page. We keep those costs way down. Internet, you all pay internet at your house. Know that all of the business that I just spoke of, at a minimum, would pay what you pay Comcast. You pay $49, probably $59 a month just for internet, right? That's at every location. That's what we just talked about. It's $60 a month.
If you don't have anything else, it's over 60.
Right, of course, sure. So, that's it for me for IT, as I can answer any questions for you.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wine?
Couple things real quick. The Llama software, it will link all the stakeholders together so that if you as a county council person gets a call from a developer, says that doggone planning department sat on my plans, they won't approve it because for whatever reason I submitted it months ago. You from the your home on your iPad, or at least most of you, can go in and check where that is, and you can respond back and say, well, you know, it's state highways, or we see on such and such a date that the plans were sent back to your engineer, and your engineer hasn't responded yet. The other thing that we'll do, as soon as our engineering department issues the UNO for the property, it'll automatically notify the assessor so they know to put that. So a lot of the things that we should be doing manually now, it will automate it. It'll be a game changer. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that Gary was recognized for December 23rd, when we had the toxic cloud, they called our IT department to fly the drone, and heard we had a meeting 2 weeks after the fact that how beneficial aerial photos were to the hazmat unit as well as the company that came down from Washington PA to do. They were able to see real time and without actually sending someone into the area. So
And that was the DC television footage that you saw. That was our footage. So just so you know, your drone was up this year for a murder. The body that was off Tuscarora Pike down over the hill. Your drone flew that and took the footage for the state. We obviously did this film, several other instances. So we got access to a lot of cool technology, and Mr. Barnard asked us the word out. They call them, we'll go help them. I mean, it's a great relationship.
Is the drone flown for home confinement? Somebody on home confinement was telling me that they had a picture of them
walking the dog, their dog or something, but it was like from straight above, from home.
Not your drone. No, sir.
From home confinement.
No.
And I'm like, I don't think home confinement's got a drone.
No.
On 2 occasions, I was coming back from Hagerstown, 81, it was dark. Just about the time I get out here to Quad. Keep seeing this LED light.
Flash.
Not flash, it was just a bright LED light. I thought, you know, jet or plane or something flying. I mean, it was standing still. The closer I got, when I looked up about 200 foot up, went underneath of it. That was a drone because you had the red and green identifiers on it. So somebody's out there flying a drone on 81 a couple months ago.
Happens.
Might be looking for traffic patterns.
Or lack thereof.
I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good report.
CC.
It's all right. All right.
I mean, really,
You know, well, it's the,
revolution.
Saw by email, state that is really working hard in the county
Mary
government.
Beth, you gonna come in?
You're exactly right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What,
But he must be.
Oh, as the fees.
Well, we're looking at, we're, you know, 14
Attorney, go ahead, Jim. Attorney, we're gonna take it.
So we did this, we went from
back in session. Next on our agenda, Dr. Mary Beth Bennett from WVU Extension Service. Good afternoon.
And I'm going to yield the floor to my new counterpart, or my more recent counterpart, the 4-H agent, Mike Withrow. Okay, so I'm going to yield the floor to him.
So just we met Jim with Jim this morning to talk about it. So I did assume the county program coordinator position for Berkeley County. So Mary Beth's trying to teach me, and then this coming year, make sure I hit all the points. But
She's
I'll give
giving
it a challenge.
giving you a drink from a fire hose. Isn't she?
Yeah, that's what it is. But I'm used to it. It's just what happens. So, but I wanted to make sure to come down and thank you guys for everything and present you with our budget request for 2020, 2021. In the requested line, we did, of course, add the 2,500. Last year, we were given 2024 for travel. Justification for that, we are adding an intern this coming summer who will also help apply new things to the county. Something we shared with Jim is we are in the process of getting a FCD agent, which Sue Flanagan was the most recent one. So we are kind of excited to get that back on board. I think it was just a threat. I told WVU if they didn't give me somebody, I was going to start teaching canning, and lo and behold, we got an application on it. So, asking you shall receive. But we did ask for 2,500 for that, just to cover the cost of those additional activities that we are going to try to go out and do. A lot of the travel that we're coming to right now is in kind of addition to what we've already been doing. So I've taken on the role at National 4-H Council to be liaison for our state as far as National Congress goes. Benefit of that to us is we do get an allocation of members that now get to attend that event, which is not happening in the past. Under the commodities section, department supplies and materials, last year was 2023. We bumped that up to 25 as well. A lot of that has to do with the additional new programs that we're offering the county. Last year alone, personally, I went out to 52 school visits, reached over 3,200 kids.
What do you talk to them?
Everything. So usually with that number, it's some type of curriculum based. So a lot of times they'll ask, hey, can you come do a lesson on XYZ? And we have 31 curriculum boxes that we can distribute throughout the county. It's got a really nice little logo on the bottom that says Berkeley County on it. But just to kind of let everybody know what we are doing, as well as, where do we get our funding from? Because that's an all-important question. But making sure that we're able to cover the additional programs that we want to have planned for this upcoming year. That was the justification for that increase. And everything else has remained the same.
On the salary, some of that is from the increase.
Correct.
You look at the control reports that I provided you. We did, there are 2 employees that are assigned to the extension service that are actually county council employees, so that when the council approved pay increases effective September 1st. Of course, those employees were eligible for increase. Also, when you look at the appropriations as of July 1st, in the month, what's been revised based on the budget submission, you'll see there's about a $10,000 swing. The Board of Education appropriates $10,000 to the extension service early on in the budget year, and that's sent to us, and then that's reappropriated into their budget at their direction for state budget. So that's why there's that $10,000 change in their operating.
All right. Any questions for Mike?
Hey, short and sweet, all the time.
It's not gonna be so easy for the next one.
Hey, that's fine. I'll take this one.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you again.
And the next one is Annette Patrick, District Supervisor, for Budget Presentation 2021.
Annette said early on, there's nothing you can ask her that she can't answer. So feel free to,
Well, Dan's already said she was all worried about this, so we might as well just break her in right.
and we have a half of an hour before anybody has to be
Uh-oh.
anywhere,
Oh,
so.
come on. Come on. Here, I did give you at least a little bit of numbers. Yeah, I don't know
We
why.
keep you around us because we like you.
I don't know why I am never nervous, and I'm really nervous right now. I don't know why I'm so nervous.
We got all dressed up for you.
Well, hey, I appreciate that.
I think the thing that concerns her is I told her 15 years ago I had an afro.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I really lost the baby years ago.
Just envision
Well,
that every time
hey,
you look over.
And
Alan.
I'm gonna pull it out.
Alan, 6 years ago, my hair was brown.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. How are you all today? Thank you very much. I guess, as an introduction to this budget request, I would just have to say we have a very small budget, operating budget, and I don't even think we need all of what we got last year. Lowered that only a little bit by about $150, because if you look at what we have encumbered and then expended, we're going a little bit below 50% expenditure on all of those things through the end of January. So I think if looking at what was front-loaded, being some of our materials and supplies and dues and subscriptions, those types of things, I don't think there's any need to have these numbers bump up. We do not expect in the department any significant change. One of the unknowns going into this budget was the moving the office this past May, and of course we don't have any of that expense coming up. So having relocated, settled in this space, needing very little of anything to make the space fit what we have, I don't see any need to add a significant expense to our operating cost. In fact, pretty much all of the entries are the same as what was requested last year from line 211 all the way down, except for dues and subscriptions from the budget request went up, but we had allocated the $100 account of supplies and materials, dues and subscriptions when we asked them to allocate it. So the $350 just matches what we did to that. And supplies and materials I dropped because there's not a significant amount of supplies and materials that should change from last year to this year, and we have plenty of money in the balance of this. I did give you a printout to just indicate, I ran some numbers just so we could compare what happened. I did that on a calendar year and signed out that instead of fiscal year, but new estates opened. If you look from 2018 to 19, we jumped up about 52 there. I anticipate that number's not going to go down based on our current volume. That number, presuming we do not have some aberration in population and death rate, I anticipate that number should be going up as our population in the county ages. Appraisements and settlements.
Getting older.
She was very
Polite.
how, yeah,
She's-
very polite how she said that.
She did, didn't she?
We can't stop it. We're all getting older.
She hasn't been here that long.
To not be polite.
Well, that just cured it.
Appraisements, those numbers went up quite a bit. You'll see from calendar year 2018 to calendar year 2019.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump from one year to the next. And we are tracking about the same, it appears. Our numbers from January of this year are above numbers from January of last year, and I would have anticipated that based upon what I'm seeing, the number of people that are coming into the department. It's hard once you look at estates open to track it all the way through. The numbers don't always relate. The three-step process can span months or years. We hopefully during this next couple months, we'll see not only the appraisement numbers increase more than they have been in the past, and I'm not wishing that people die. I'm hoping that cleanup of existing files will increase the number that you see coming through there for appraisements on the publications and settlements, because there are lots of estates in our office that have never had either of those two steps done and have been open long enough to have done so.
Well, it looks like to me, I mean, from looking at it, you have almost 10% more of opened estates, but you have 5% less of settlement
Of closed estates.
So that tells me that the backlog has grown a good bit
It has.
Is that due
in the
to
last year.
just people not getting everything done?
Not finishing them. I think it's a twofold answer to that question. I'm finding that people come in and open an estate when they may not need to, or to get to an item that they want access to because the community has changed their approach to who has access to assets, who can even go in an apartment or a rental unit after someone has passed away. There are lots of service providers, retail agencies, banks and investment companies, even life insurance companies that are now requiring, in addition to the death certificate, a letter of administration. And I think that not only has a lot to do, requiring the letter of administration not only has a lot to do with the fraud that's out there, but because people are representing themselves to be something that they're not, but also based on litigation and the nature of society and how litigious people are. So everyone needs not only proof that the person has died, but that they're talking to the right person. We've even had people come back in with a letter of administration. They've produced it to someone. The person accepting it is looking at their photo ID. If their name is typed on the photo ID is not the same as on the letter of administration, they're making them come back and get another one. So I think we have estates opened where all someone wants to do is get access to the person's apartment, to clean it out and take what needs to be taken. There's really no estate there. So they get a letter, they open an estate, get a letter of administration. We never see them again because there's really nothing for them to list on an appraisement and a settlement. So what we're going to try to do is, as we can, is get those things wrapped up, get the people to come back in. The steps 2 and 3 can be facilitated by mail, so they don't even really have to walk back into the office. Get that knowledge out there, communicate to people, and try to get those things in and closed, because it just creates backlog. There's not substantial revenue to anyone related to wrapping these up as far as the office or the county goes. Everything we're collecting, all the revenues collected up front for the fiduciary fund. What they're coming in and paying at step 2 and 3 are just recording fees. So it's not really a matter of adding any money or a significant cost to the person even. It's just getting somebody to finish the paperwork.
When I was working on one particular estate, the cemetery wouldn't open the grave unless I had a letter from the
Yeah.
fiduciary.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe the people that'll come in and say, the life insurance company. Now, why would you need a letter of administration for a life insurance company? This is where there's a beneficiary named, where the life insurance policy is not going back to the estate. It's going to a named beneficiary, and they won't communicate with the named beneficiary. They want to communicate with whoever's been appointed to represent the estate. They want a letter of administration, which is doesn't make any sense to me. But you know, when people are out there making those ridiculous demands, it's putting an onus and a burden on someone to come in and open an estate when they might not need to. Everything could totally be non-probate, but that's generating some of estates being opened and then people drop it because they have no motivating factor to come back in and finish it. So those figures might help you a little bit. The fiduciary fees collected, as I said, those are the ones, they have gone up also, as you would anticipate with the number of estates going up, because that is when we're collecting those fees. Is when they come in. No one can get a letter of administration until they pay the appointment fee, and the appointment fee is based on total value of the estate, probate and non-probate.
Goes into a special revenue fund. We roll it over. It hasn't been a lot over the years. We roll it over from one year to the next to take care of some, every once in a while, some extraordinary expenses come up that may not be budgeted. For example, last week we just ordered
Folders?
some really, really nice folders that has the county seal and fiduciary office on it. Before they were just put in a folder and
In an envelope.
yeah. So
Yellow.
Connect worked with Tracy and they got some quotes, and so now when you leave the fiduciary office, all your documents will be in a nice folder, and they weren't expensive, but it's expenses that typically would not be in. As you can see, the budget's pretty small, so we used some funding out of that.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm. It will look a lot more professional. People will be able to identify, because, you know, when they're looking for an original will, a lot of times the way we tell someone to find it is look for something that has a colored back on it. It's in an envelope. You know, if we're trying to remind people and get them to identify what we're giving them and finish everything, I think if they have something that we can say, look for a folder with a seal on it that says fiduciary department, then, because we reprint a lot of forms for people because they've lost what we gave them at step one and they need to come back in and redo it. So we can eliminate that, and makes it more convenient not only for them but for us also.
And we roll over that special revenue account from one fiscal year to the next until it gets so large that it needs to be drawn down, and we'll bring in a purchase order to the council account, put that money back in the general fund. But it's good to have.
Yeah, because I know we're funding them from the day.
Canette mentioned that her operating request actually increased by $100,000. But if you look at the
$150.
$150.
Sorry, $150.
Well, you really make me worry.
If you look at the spreadsheet that I did, you can see that current year funding is $285,035. And next year's funding, because we locked personnel down, we actually budgeted 4 positions for this fiscal year, and with retiring January 1st, have 6 months of her salary and benefits, which will be unencumbered for the rest of this fiscal year. That position next fiscal year, that doesn't think she'll be in that position. So that the total budget for next year is $217,354, a decrease of $67,681. So fiduciary's budget for next year will be substantially lower than, it's actually a decrease of 74%. But there may be news talking about the influx of population, elderly workforce. There may come a time when we design the suite down there, we have a little extra room that we may have to think about.
We're working on efficiency right now,
I know
so maybe that wouldn't be as soon as we think, but it is a very busy office. We have a lot of traffic in and out of there, and at the present setup, if we were to bring in another person, we would have to do something related to the space out front, because there's just not, or share offices in the back, because if you're done, there's just, you can't have 2 people meeting with someone and talking in that space without some sort of divider partitioning something.
So is there, I mean, when we're doing the engineering software and everything like that to increase efficiency, is there anything that in your department that would help you do that from an IT standpoint?
I think our software is not being fully utilized yet. So,
It's just brand new.
yeah, well, the update is, it was updated in April, late April. Same program, just an update was pushed through on it to make it more efficient, and there's still aspects of that software that we are not implementing fully. It could aid quite a bit in efficiency. So I don't think we need to upgrade or change anything related to how we're managing the estates right now. We just need to use it all, which would facilitate a lot more.
So am I correct if I'm reading your numbers right, that there's a couple hundred open cases right now?
Oh my, yes. There may be more.
196.
Yeah. Well, no, that's
No,
just,
I'm sorry.
that's,
the difference between open.
that's the difference
Yeah.
for the new ones.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
that's just, yeah.
That's-
It's like counting all the
2019.
ones laying out there.
That's not counting the older ones. Yeah, there are, you wouldn't want to see the printout of everything that looks open.
Or back to the,
Back to, well, the software only goes back to 2010, 11. This software does, but if you would go back and look at everything that was open prior to that, it's even scarier. And along the same lines of what I'm saying there, it's not a brand new thing that someone comes in and opens up an estate and never closes it. But there are estates that have been out there more than, I just closed one that opened in 2004. So there are quite a bit that if you were to do a printout that this software will do for open estates, it's page 300 and some pages, and that's not one entry per page. That's multiple entries on a page that the software is recognizing that it doesn't appear to be closed. Now, there was new legislation that passed last legislative session that allows stale estates to be closed. That is not fee-free to the county. It does require publications. And of course, as publication cost goes up, and we have seen that trend up as far as the cost goes, but it's coming out of that fund that Alan is talking about. Publication cost has gone up based on the amount of space that you're occupying. At one point in time, it was free to advertise these things. And then when they started charging, of course, it's like every other advertising out there, it has incrementally inched up. So if we were going to close an old estate, the legislation that passed allows for any estate that has had no activity in 3 years, and that means no activity, nothing's happened for 3 consecutive years. If it's 2 and they come in and do something, it breaks the 3 years. But if you go 3 consecutive years with no activity, they can be administratively closed, but not without publication. So we're adding a publication cost without adding any revenue.
Can you list multiple estates on the publication?
Yes, we can publish them the same as we're currently doing publications for appraisements and settlements, where we could list multiple estates in the publication at a time. But of course, the cost of that advertising is based on the number of lines, not based on a fixed per ad price. So the more, it doesn't matter if we run it one time or we run it, multiple times, the number of lines on the ad are how they base the cost.
The other question is, what happens to the fact that all of the participants are dead? I mean, if someone is the executor of an estate and they're dead, and it's there, posting it isn't going to make any difference. There should be an exception or something like that. That can be validated through the court system.
And the advertisement doesn't require any response.
Oh,
It just has to be advertised.
Notification.
just not,
Yeah, it's just for notification purposes. So from the standpoint of what happens to those estates where multiple people have passed and we're not administratively closing it, it creates a tremendous burden on not only the people trying to get it closed, but on us to try to figure out who there is left that can do anything and how we get them to do it. I had found a file with a life insurance policy in it, an original. How it got in there, I have no idea. We shouldn't have those, but it was brought in, left with the office about 3 years ago, and I can't get anybody to take it. I can't find the person who was the beneficiary passed. Her basically beneficiary has relocated, obviously, and I've talked to everybody. I've talked to the insurance commission. I've tried to find the company that's gone out of, they've been merged into bigger companies. I can't get anybody to take this thing. So even something as small as that doesn't have any financial impact on anyone, it's very difficult to run people down at this point to get them to do anything if multiples.
Does that kind of thing go to them to the, ultimately to the treasurer, or?
Norwood, obviously, it's a twilight zone. No one seems to know what to do with it. I can't get anyone to, I have called every representative I can think of to say, what is the option to do with this thing? Now, the reality is, no one will ever probably attempt to claim the assets that are in that life insurance. So does the policy itself go to unclaimed property? I don't know.
I would say, I bet it does, and I bet the treasurer can turn it into cash.
Could be.
Doesn't mean that we
Yeah,
work
it should
out.
go
Could be.
to,
I know what you're saying.
Tell you what.
I guarantee I can get the person to come in.
What
You
was the name on
guarantee?
that?
Yeah. 'Cause I guarantee.
I can't
If you
remember.
took an ad out in the journal, said this life insurance policy was found in the records, but now you gotta do a little bit of a typo. And if it was for $10,000, it's for $1 million. And just, and I'll guarantee you somebody will show up. They just say,
Yeah,
well, we
I know.
made a mistake.
Okay, so I'd have to ask Jim, what's the county's liability
All of it. All the balance due.
for committing that typographical error?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I at one time was able to research names, if you give me the name, anything, I'll see what I found back when they had the major estate that was somebody they were trying to track who, what, where, when I found.
Thanks, Elaine. I'll do that. I'll whenever I have a chance, I'll find where that is and let you know. It would help me out not to have to worry about possessing it, because we've even mailed it out several times, requiring a signature to different addresses and leads that we had, and it just keeps coming back. So,
They're probably afraid to sign for it because when it looks official,
yeah,
they don't want to take it.
right. People don't want to sign certified anymore. Anything that they have to sign for, they're not interested. But we send
Just
it,
send it out in a handwritten envelope.
Exactly.
With a little card inside, happy birthday. I bet they'll come in.
You know we're being recorded.
Yep.
Trying to be clever over here.
yeah, well, you try everything,
Gotta think outside the box, right?
right? That's right. Any other questions?
Went hard on it.
No?
Almost took the half hour, look at that.
It's not over yet.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hopefully next
Thank-
time you come in better prepared.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Hess, what do you have for us, sir?
I wanted to bring some of these numbers over to look to you for the quadratic thing. Just bring a couple copies there.
Oh, it's $10,000 in tax dollars.
Uh-huh.
She probably was,
No,
that's
$11,000 in appraised value.
tax money we talked about.
80% of that goes to Board of Education, right?
it's not a big deal, that's a big deal.
All the money.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Wow.
If you remember, Quad Graphics last year they wrote, in other words, filled out an application for an appeal during the Board of Equalization. And of course, the state handles, that Quad Graphics.